Hi, hello everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're watching us from. Hello, it's Ebun and I'm from Nexi Concept Limited. We're back again with another Instagram live session and it promises to be an exciting time. So I'm just going to wait a bit for everyone to join so that we can get started. Hello. But if you can hear me, let me know. Please let me know. Hi, good afternoon. Please let me know if you can hear me. I can see that I'm reconnecting due to poor network, but that's not a problem. That's not going to disturb our live session for today. But I just want to confirm that I'm audible of interview questions and also sample questions. So we're going to be categorizing these interview questions and I'm also going to be giving you some example questions. Note, this is not an exhaustive list, okay? There are still so many questions that can be asked, but we're going to cover as many as we can in today's live session. So that's why you want to stick around. So after we do that, then we'll discuss core tips and best practices to ensure that you are able to answer the questions rightly and also maintain maximum composure. So we're going to be doing that in the course of this live session. You don't want to miss it. And then we'll wrap up with a Q&A session as well as closing remarks, okay? So this is the outline that we have to work with in today's live session and it promises to be an exciting one. So like I said, we're starting off with pre-admission interviews, a brief definition. So what is a pre-admission interview, you might be wondering? It's very simple. It's basically an interview for the institution. So this could be a college or a university to assess or determine your suitability for a particular program and their institution. So this is a way that universities or colleges abroad can decide whether you as a prospective international student is a best fit for the program that you have decided to study and the university that you've decided to study in, right? So I promise it's nothing too difficult for you to answer. It's nothing too technical for you to navigate. You just need to know the necessary tips to help you to ace these interviews. And that's why you're on today's live session, okay? So after this brief definition that I've given you, what is something that you should know? This pre-admission interview is an opportunity for you to be able to sell yourself and position yourself as the best candidate or as the best applicant for that program. So you're going to be talking about things like your interests, your passion, your background, any gaps you've had in your education, your work experience, your future plans, your finances. All these things are, categories that are going to be covered in the course of your pre-admission interview in a university. And remember that we said that this cuts across countries such as the UK, Ireland, the USA, Europe, and many more countries, okay? So from the information that you're going to get on this live session, you can actually apply it to whatever country that you're looking at studying. Now, it's important that we note this. So not all countries and not all institutions have pre-admission interviews, okay? So even in the UK, take for example, there are certain universities that offer pre-admission interviews or that conduct pre-admission interviews, and there are other universities that do not. So depending on the university that you're interested in, it's important to know whether these interviews are going to be conducted or not. And regardless of whether they're going to be conducted, it's important that you also have this information available to you. And that's what we're going to be helping you today, okay? So it's really important that we're able to walk through all the necessary requirements for a pre-admission interview so that we can ensure maximum success during our study abroad journey. So we've laid the foundation now. We know what pre-admission interviews are. We know what the university expects from us. And we're going to be going next to the different categories of questions for these interviews, okay? So just walk with me. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to drop it in the chat. I will do my best to answer after we've gone through, what we have to cover for today. All right, so like I said, we're going to be covering a lot of things. Now we're moving on to the types of questions and the categories of questions that you should expect in a pre-admission university interview. Now note that I mentioned earlier that not all countries and not all institutions actually conduct pre-admission interviews, but a country like France, for instance, actually does. So if you're looking at studying in France, you want to stick on this live, you don't want to go, because most, if not all, of the institutions in France conduct pre-admission interview. So you have to go through a set of questions before you can be issued an offer to study at a university in France. Okay, so just bear in mind that for other countries it might be tentative, but for countries in Europe, most times you actually have to go through that pre-admission interview process. All right, so let's get into the meat of the matter. What kind of questions would I be asked during my pre-admission interview? What are the categories of questions that are there? Now, these are sample questions that I'm about to give you, and they are broken down into different categories. So the first category that we'll be treating would be personal or background information. Remember that I'm looking down a bit because I have the questions on my screen here and I don't want to miss out on anything, okay? So bear with me if you see me looking down and looking up. I just want to ensure that I have everything covered and we're on the same page. All right. So the first category is personal or background information. The next category would be purpose or motivation. The next category would be knowledge of the institution or the program of choice. Then we move on to the financial suitability. And then we close off with plans or future intentions. So we have 5 categories that we'll be treating in today's live session. And for these 5 categories, I have outlined sample questions for you. So let's start with the first one, personal or background information. This is the section where the university wants to learn a bit about you, your interest, your background, your educational background, your work background, your purpose, things that make you you, things that make you unique, your motivation and things like that. So this part actually covers questions that fall under that line. It's just an opportunity for you to be able to showcase your passion and just clarify details about your application and things like that. So it's basically like the introductory stage. So you're having a conversation with, the interviewers on your panel about questions that are related in this category, okay? So what kind of questions would you be asked in this category? Very, very simple questions, but you also have to answer them with tact. So before we get into the questions, I actually want to give you 3 C's that can ensure that you have a very, very successful pre-admission or university interview. The first tip is to be credible. So that's a C. Ensure that your information has been thoroughly researched and can be backed. So you're not here to, do hearsay or just, talk about things on a whim. Let it be factual and credible. That's the first C. The second C is confidence. It's very, very important that you are able to articulate your words rightly and to speak with a level of confidence, okay? This is not the time to, look down on yourself or be shy. Be bold and also appear very, very confident, because that is a very important tip for acing your interviews. And the last C is your composure. Okay, maximum composure all the time. So just bear these 3 C's in mind, as we go through the questions. Okay, so remember, the first C is that to be credible and also be clear. The second C is that you should speak with confidence. And then the last C is that you maintain composure. So don't fidget, don't be scared, ensure that you're able to work on your communication skills and articulate your words correctly. So let's get into the questions that we can be asked in the personal or background information category. First question, I'm sure we get this a lot, so this isn't even specific to pre-admission interviews. If it's a job interview, even if it's a conversation with colleagues or at a networking event, can you introduce yourself and tell me a bit about who you are? This is a very deep question, and it's a question that should be answered with a lot of direction. So it's not something that you just say randomly that, this is my name, this is my age, and that's it. You need to provide more context. Talk about the experiences that shaped you as you were growing. Talk about things that are unique to you. Talk about your lives. Talk about your interests. Paint yourself in such an amazing light that is factual. Remember that we are trying to be as truthful as possible, but present yourself in a way that, the interviewers can have a good description of the kind of person that you are. So it's very, very important. This is a very key question, and it's usually one of the first questions that are being asked during a pre-admission interview. So another common question is, what are your hobbies or interests, and how do they complement your studies? remember that this is a pre-admission interview. So everything that you're going to be saying should be in relation to the course you want to study, the institution you want to study at, and even the country. But we'll get there as we move on. So all the facts that you're saying about yourself, all your hobbies, all your interests, you have to make sure that you're linking it to, further corroborate that you are, the best person or the best candidate for that course, okay? So all the facts and all the hobbies and all the interests that you're listing out, ensure that it is in line with what you actually want to study. And in cases where you have a background that doesn't necessarily match your, future intentions, it's possible to also explain that you have developed interest for this, your future line of study. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't have a background in a particular course or a particular program, that you are unable to be suitable for that program. All of this is just dependent on how you are able to speak and how you're able to properly articulate and carry yourself with confidence and composure. It's also important that you do a lot of research. In the pre-admission interview, the processes leading up to that cannot be successful without research. So it's so important that you do research, study about the school, study about the course, study about the modules, study about the area, study about the environment, study and study and study until you know that you are a walking wealth of knowledge, and if anybody taps you, you are able to provide answers, okay? So this is an example of a question that can be asked. The next one that we see in the personal or background information is, can you explain any gaps in your educational history or work experience? So this is an opportunity for you to just talk about, gaps, if any, that you've had, and also to, show proof that shows that, okay, let's say, for instance, you had a 1 year gap and maybe that was during your NYSC, or after your NYSC, you had a 1 year gap. Let's say you took, some time off, you took a gap year, you volunteered in so and so place, you did some NGO work, or you were interning here and there, gaps that show a period between where you stopped one level of education and where you're looking to continue. You need to be able to explain what was going on in that period. And it's nothing too difficult for you to navigate. You just need to be able to articulate it properly and explain to the interview panel what you've been up to and how you've been able to improve yourself, even in spaces of gap. Okay, so having gaps is not a problem, but being able to properly explain what was going on during the gap is what is very helpful and very beneficial. Okay, I can see some comments here. Yeah, thank you. Just keep dropping your comments, keep dropping questions if you have any, and we're going to treat it together. Okay, so let's move on. Another question that we can see here is, how do you plan to adapt to the cultural differences in the country you're applying to? Remember that, most times when you're having a pre-admission interview, there are lots of things that are being covered. So the university wants to determine your suitability for that course, the institution, as well as the country. And we already established earlier that research is a non-negotiable factor. So you want to be able to understand and properly research on the culture of the country that you're looking at studying, their lifestyle, the traditions, popular holidays, popular observation, things like that show that you are invested in actually studying, and much more than that, you're invested in being a practical member of society. So you want to engage in societal activities, you want to engage in community building activities, and you need to be able to research on these things. So it's important that you know the culture and the tradition of the country that you're looking at studying in, because these are things that would be evaluated during your pre-admission interview. Another question that we have here is, do you have any friends or family in the country, and how do they support your decision to study abroad? Okay, so these are sample questions that can be asked in the personal or background information. And not to worry, these questions are readily available. Just feel free to reach out to us and we'll walk you through the entire process from start to finish. So if you're able to take note of these questions, do that. But if not, please just shoot us a DM and we'll tell you exactly what you need to know to ace your pre-admission university interview. Okay? So we've knocked out the first stage or the first category of questions, and that is personal or background information. Next, we'll move on to purpose and motivation. Very, very important, because this is what answers all the whys. Why do you want to study here? Why do you want to study this course? Why? All those whys are in this category of purpose and motivation. And we're going to start off with this question. Why do you want to study in the country of your choice? This is a very, very important question that needs a lot of research and facts, okay? So take, for instance, if you want to study in the UK and you're, on the pre-admission interview for a university and you're being asked this question. So why the UK? Why do you want to study in the UK? I'm sure that you're not going to say something like, oh, I like the weather, it's cold. It's you can't give vague answers. You need some depth. You need to talk a bit about the history of the United Kingdom, how it's very multicultural, and how you feel like you already have a multicultural or diverse community of international students that you can benefit from, the networking opportunities available to you, things that, are captivating, not vague things like, oh, I just bought a new jacket and I would like to test it out in the UK, or I feel like, when I go to the UK, my skin will glow, not things like that. We actually need proper answers that show that you're really invested in this, your study abroad journey, and you've been able to do the research that is required. So it's very important. Read about the country, read about the country's history, read about the country's culture, the country's tradition, learn a bit about the languages, okay? So if you're interested in studying in France, why would you want to study in France? And if that question was asked, it's also good for you to explain that, you've always been fascinated by the French language and it's something that you definitely would want to significantly improve on, and this is an opportunity for you to work on those skills. Things like that are solid and credible answers as opposed to vague answers. So I know that by virtue of this live session, I'm sure that you'll be having a very, very different view of the preparations and the steps that you need to take to be able to successfully pass your interviews, okay? So another question similar to this is, what are the benefits of studying in this country compared to other countries? As an international student, you know that your options are limited. You can decide to study in the UK, in the USA, in Ireland, in Canada, in Australia, in New Zealand. I could go on and on and on and on and on. In Europe, France, we have Malta, we have Finland, we even have the Philippines. You can go to almost anywhere. So why did you decide to study in the UK? Why? Why the UK out of all these other countries and all these other countries that have very developed economies? It's important for you to do your research and highlight reasons peculiar to you that will support this, okay? So your reasons might be very unique if you're interested in a tech career, for instance, and you know that Ireland has been proven to be a very, very bustling tech hub. That can be why you would choose Ireland over other countries, such as France, for instance. So these are things that you want to do research on and also become familiar with so that you're able to properly answer this question when you're being asked, okay? So we'll move over to the next question. Why did you choose this specific school? So you've decided now that you want to study in the UK. Why did you choose Birmingham City University? Why did you choose the University of Dundee? Why did you choose the University of Hull? Why did you choose the Montfort University? Why this school? This is the point where you're supposed to do research on the school, look at the offerings and the advantages that that school has, peculiar to your interest and peculiar to your own purpose and motivation. And then you present this to the interviewers. Let them know that you're not just particular about getting a UK education alone, but your education, you've seen that the school has certain offers that other schools don't, and that will be, that would contribute significantly to your development and to your growth, okay? So get all this information. You can always find information about the school on their school website. You could always find information on other partner portals as well, but the information is readily available and you just need to do that extra effort of researching and reading through. I know that Nigerians try to avoid interviews a lot, but I promise that this is not one that is too complicated, okay? It's something that you can actually do, and not just do, you can actually ace it and, have a successful outcome in your study abroad journey. So don't fret. Remember our 3 C's. The first one is, I want to see if anybody can guess, but because we don't have time for that, the first one, okay, I think I can see someone, or is it? I think it's my network. I don't know. Can you guys hear me? I can see network connecting. Can you hear me? I'm not sure. Okay, yes. Okay, I can. So you have to be credible. You have to you have to be credible, you have to be confident, and you have to maintain composure. Okay, yes. Sorry. I think I lost my network for a bit, but we're back. Okay, thank you. You can hear me. Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you to everyone, and thank you for your comments as well. Okay. So the next question that we're going to take here is, how did you find out about the university or the school? Again, these are questions that you can research and let the interviewers know that you have done your due diligence in researching and you have been able to confirm that this is the school of your choice. You might also be asked, what other universities did you consider and why did you decide to go with us or with this school? And we've already talked about this already, so I don't want to waste too much time on that. Remember that we're not touching all the possible questions, but we're giving you an idea about the kind of questions that you can be asked. Thank you. I can still see your responses. Yes, credibility was actually the first one I said, so thank you so much for that. So we'll move on to the next question, still under purpose or motivation. Why did you choose this course? Remember, the first thing we said was, why did you choose this school? So you can also, and you would also be asked, why did you choose this course and how does it relate to your previous studies? So this is the time where you're supposed to go through the course modules and just have an idea of what the course entails and why you felt like the course was a best fit for you in comparison to what you studied before. So take, for instance, you had a bachelor's in management information systems and now you're looking at going into cybersecurity or something like that. Although these two courses are still in the tech field, it's very important to be able to relate what you studied in your bachelor's to what you're looking at studying in your postgraduate course. So this information is readily available online. We cannot overemphasize the importance of research. So any questions you have, they're always just a Google search away and you're able to get the necessary information that you need. Okay, so I'm going to move on because I know that we're a bit pressed for time. We've been able to cover two major categories. So we've talked about the personal background or background information, and we've also talked about purpose and motivation. Next, we're moving over to knowledge of the institution and program. So we talked a bit about this in the category that we just concluded, but I want to go a bit into details. So what are the kind of questions that you'll be asked that would prove that you're knowledgeable about the institution and the program? First, where is the school located? Where is the university located? The college of your dreams, like you've said in your SOP, where is it actually located? It's vague to say, say for instance, you want to study at Birmingham City University and you're on a pre-admission interview panel. And we know that the school is in the UK. We are well aware that the school is in the UK. But when you are asked this kind of question, you need to go into specifics. Birmingham City University is located at so and so, Birmingham, United Kingdom. So you need to be specific. Don't just say, it's located in France. It's located in the UK. It's located in... You understand what I'm saying? You have to know exactly where the school is located. You can also be asked, what do you know about the program that you are interested in studying? So what kind of research have you been able to gather? Have you been able to go through the modules? And a quick tip that we give our students is you can know all you need to know about the course on the university's website. So the good thing is when you log onto a university's website or when you search university's website for a particular program, you would actually see the modules that you would be taking per year. Right, and you're able to see, okay, am I taking a cybersecurity module? Am I taking a mathematical, statistical course? You can see all these modules outlined and also being described. So it's important that you go through them, you read them, and you become very familiar with the modules of your program because it's going to help you significantly in acing your pre-admission interviews. Another question is, what qualification will you receive at the end of the program? So if you're going to get an MA, an MBA, an MSc, a PGD, you understand these qualifications. You are supposed to know what your qualification will be at the end of the program. How long does the program last? Are you going for a 12-month program, 9-month program, an 18-month program, a 24-month program? It's good to have an idea of how or the duration of your program because you most likely be asked in a pre-admission interview. what facilities are you expecting at the university or the school? So you've already decided and you've already said that, this is a school that you want, this is your dream school, you've looked around and you found that there's no other school like this school. So what are the things that you're looking out for? What are you expecting? Are you expecting state-of-the-art facility? If you're looking into a health course, are you expecting that they have, some sort of lab or some sort of hospital or some sort of, structure or system that works for you, and that do they have the facilities that you're actually interested in? And this is something that you can know again from research. So just research what are the facilities that this school has and how does this help me, how is this beneficial to me, because you will be asked what you are expecting from the school as you have decided to go with that school. Okay, and another question, so I'll take this as the last question because we still have 2 other categories to go through. The last question in this category of knowledge of the institution or program is, okay, does this course offer any professional recognition? So is there any additional certification or any notification from a professional body that is attached to this course or this program? It's important that you know all these details, okay? So we're moving on now to the next category. We've been able to successfully go through 3 categories of pre-admission interview questions. And if you have any question for me, please drop it in the chat and I'll do well to answer to the best of my ability. So the next, and also I don't want to say the most important, but the very, very interesting category is about your finances. So the school wants to know about your financial suitability for the program. We understand that studying abroad is a costly but beneficial investment, and the school is also well aware of this. So they want to know about your financial stance and where you're at financially and how you're making financial preparations to be able to see you through the duration of your program. So you get questions like, oh, how much is your tuition fee? Are you aware of how much the tuition fee is for your program? Are you aware of other supporting costs such as accommodation, living expenses, transportation, feeding, and all of that? The school wants to know that you have an idea of what it actually costs to study abroad or to study that program in their institution. So it's important that you do the research. You should know your tuition, how you will be sponsored, and if your sponsor has enough financial ability to see you through your studies. You should also be able to prove without... Okay, I lost my network for a bit, but I am back. Can you guys hear me now? Please confirm if you can hear me before we move on. Sorry about the break in transmission. I hope I wasn't gone for too long. Please, if you can hear me, just let me know. Okay, I've gotten a thumbs up that I'm audible. So yeah, we just concluded on the 4 categories, and we're now moving to the last category of the pre-admission interview questions, and this category covers your plans and your future intentions. I was saying earlier that the school wants to have an idea of what type of alumnus or alumni that you're going to be, so they want to know what your plans are upon graduation and any future intentions that you have upon completing your degree at that institution. Okay, so one major question is, are you planning to stay back in the country after completing your studies? So the school wants to have an idea of what are your next steps. Are you looking at staying in this country, or are you looking at taking the knowledge that you learned from this country and going to impact or develop the country or your country of origin or the country that you're coming from? The school wants to have an idea of this. And also a major question that they ask is, what would you say the next steps are for your studies? Do you want to go and study another program? Do you want to go straight into the labor market? Do you want to clear and concise way as possible? Okay, remember that we're ensuring that we're being credible, we're being confident, and we're also maintaining maximum composure during our pre-admission interviews. So these are the 5 categories of questions that you'll most likely be asked. Remember that I said earlier that these are not all the questions in details. This is just like a general idea of what you should expect when you're preparing for your pre-admission interviews. For more details on this, just feel free to shoot us a DM at Nexi Limited and we'll do well to answer and guide you through the process. Next, we're going on to more tips on acing your pre-admission interviews. Okay? The first thing that we cannot emphasize enough is preparedness. Be prepared. Research about the school, research about the country, research about the course, research about everything researchable. Know the course content, the modules, know it thoroughly. Know the location of your school. If possible, know the hotspots for shopping. Know, what's going on. Know the location of the library. Know the location of the International Student Assist Center. Know different things. Research as much as possible about the country, about the school, about your course, and even about your life as a prospective international student. It's just important that you have an idea of all these things because it will help you during the course of your interview. Okay? So research. No specifics, and no unique attributes of the institution as well. Okay? That's one that you want to take note of. Another one is be clear and honest. Answer all questions clearly and honestly and provide concise and direct answers. There's no need to lie because most of the things you provide would also be fact-checked. So you don't want to go and lie. You don't want to say something that is not true. Be as honest and clear as possible, especially when you're talking about finances, you're talking about your purpose, you're talking about motivation, you're talking about your plans upon graduation. Be honest and be clear. Align your goals. So that is one step. Remember that we said that it's an interview, right? But everything is still based on the institution and the course that you've chosen. So even when you're discussing about your motivation, your purpose, your interests and all of that, ensure that it is connected or in some way aligned to that program or the university's goals or things like that. So when you're speaking about yourself, ensure that you can draw some sort of relationship or establish some sort of relationship with the modules in the course and what the university really stands for. It's important that they see some sort of synergy or some sort of relationship that makes you a suitable candidate or a suitable student to be at the university. You're fine financially. That's another tip. Know what it will cost you to begin the process and know what during the process of your journey as an international student. So be financially ready, be financially prepared, and know the current status of your finances. Know where you're at, know what you need to do before you get to where you need to be to successfully fund your studies, and just everything involving finances. Have a good and clear understanding of your financial capability. Also have supporting documentation, right? You need documentation to be able to prove your financial stats as well as that of your sponsor. So know about your living expenses, know about your accommodation, know about your tuition, know about your even extra expenses that you may incur along that line. Very, very important to be financially ready and to have supporting documentation. Okay? Now, it's also important that you know about the visa regulations and the legal responsibilities of international students because you're looking at studying or completing your studies abroad in a country that is different from your home country, and these countries have laws, these countries have regulations for international students. So you need to be well aware of these regulations or these restrictions even before you land in the country, and that's one thing that the pre-admission interview is going to test. How knowledgeable are you about the visa regulations of the country that you're looking at studying in? Very, very important. All this information is readily available. All you need to do is to research and then you will get the answers accordingly. And a closing tip is to remember the 3 C's. So remember to be credible, remember to... Okay, hello, I can see someone waving at me. Okay, remember to be credible, remember to be confident, and remember to maintain maximum composure. So that's the last tip I'm going to give you. Remember the 3 C's even with all the tips that I've shared in today's live session. So thank you so much for sticking with me. It has been a very, very insightful session. At this point, I'm going to take answers or, comments if you have any please drop the comment in the chat. If you have a question, please drop it in the chat and I'll do well to answer you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your engagement. And I hope you enjoyed. So I'll start scrolling through to see if I have any comments. Okay. I see people waving. Hi, hello. Hello, Yeti. I see that you're sending greetings to us.